everybody. We have a roll call.
Lipnicki. Here. Lemke.
Here.
Walton.
Here.
Johansson.
Here.
Zuby.
Here.
Frazier. Frazier is not here.
And next on the agenda is our approval of minutes from way last of July 25th, I think.
I move to approve the minutes.
I second it.
Any discussion on this? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any discussion on this?
Just add my name at the present, I wasn't on that. Michelle knows that.
Okay,
Yep, I have the correction.
got the correction. Other than that, anything else? I don't know if the date's right. It says July 25th, but the one that I had,
July 25th is the correct date. The 24th was a Wednesday.
okay, we got that good then. All right. So moving on, are there any public comments not related to what's going on tonight? Hearing none, we will continue to move on. We have, in the public here, we have three variance requests going on tonight. The first one is for a dimensional variance of 624 and 630 South Michigan Avenue. I believe the owner is Ward Bell. And give the opportunity for the applicant to make a presentation.
Go up there.
Yeah, just because it records better and then it.
Yeah, you might wanna
Okay.
go,
I didn't bring any presentation material, but I think the board has the plans in the packet.
Yeah.
So I purchased this property about 2 years ago, and yes, you're correct. About a year and a half ago, we came to the board. My daughter was here.
Right, exactly,
Um,
yeah.
Asking for a variance on the existing house to go from four units to 7 units. When we purchased the property, I also was doing a little bit of research. I'm an alumni from Ferris from 2001. So I can appreciate some of the housing shortages and things that have been here for a significant period of time. So when my daughter decided to come to school here, we were looking at, opportunities for housing for her and things of that nature, and there weren't a lot of great opportunities for her. She lived in Campus Creek for a little bit, and that wasn't the best experience for her, I'll just say that. So we decided to look at some properties around here. I actually did a little bit of research and saw that there was a housing study that was done back in 2020 for the city of Big Rapids, identifying the housing needs and things of that nature. And then when the realtor that I was working with, Heather Miller, brought this property to me, it had a potential of had a vacant lot, which potentially had the ability to have a higher density in the R3 zoning. So purchased the property, certainly not under any mandate to build, what we have there. My request in my statement and as far as asking for the zoning variance is the zoning law requires or restricts the number of units that you can build on a piece of property by the square footage of the property. But what it doesn't restrict with the units is the density of the building. So if the variance was warranted to me, then we would still have a 15,000 square foot building. If the building wasn't warranted, if the variance wasn't warranted to me, you would still have a 15,000 square foot building. It's just how the square footage is divided up inside the building and things of that nature. So ultimately the question and the ask is that regardless of whether or not the variance is warranted or not, it wouldn't affect the density or anything of that nature as far as the plans that we've submitted today. So we meet we're actually over parked by 4 parking spots. The requirement is based on the 36 bedrooms that we have is to have 36 parking spaces. We actually have 40. We meet all the setback requirements. We meet the building height requirements. My civil engineer worked with the engineering department preliminarily to work on how we're going to work on the stormwater runoff and things of that nature. So everything else, whether the variance was warranted or not, the building could look the way it is today. That is shown on the plans. It's just a matter of whether or not you would have 8 units with 4 bedrooms or 9 units with 4 bedrooms. I would also say that looking at some of the other use groups in the R3 zoning district, there's fraternity, sorority, boarding houses, which the density that requires, or the square footage that requires for that density is substantially less than what it would be for this project. I do have some material that I'll hand out to you, just to go to an extreme and to help with the concept of bringing more density to the city of Big Rapids using the R3 zoning district. You know, you could fit, I'm proposing 9 4-bedroom units, but you could do 17 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and 3-bedroom units in there, in the same building structure, in the same building footprint, have less parking, and be able to provide for, you know, single professionals or loft style units or things of that nature. So I think the emphasis here is whether the variance is warranted or not, it wouldn't change the building structure, dimension, volume, setbacks, anything like that. And by right, it could be built, the building could be built the way it is right now, whether it has 8 4-bedroom units or 9 4-bedroom units.
Okay,
So I'll actually hand you the layout of the 17 units real quick.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Evan?
All right.
Thank you.
Yep.
I kind of missed this,
Oh, absolutely.
step, Michelle. Was there anything you wanted to go with this, or are we good so
I-
far?
I'm just available for questions, or if you'd like me to go through my staff report, I'm happy to do that too.
Yeah, go ahead and go ahead and do that.
Okay, so the applicant kind of already covered some of the information, but, the total square footage of the lots combined we show is 30,102 square feet. And we have a requirement in the zoning ordinance that you need 12,000 square feet for the first 2 units, and then each additional unit requires 3,000 square feet after that. So with our calculations, then he would need approximately 33,000 square feet in order to be able to build a 9-unit. So I was just explaining how we come to 8 versus 9. As far as variances, you guys have in your staff report what is required in order to approve or deny a variance, or what statute says you need to look at. In our analysis, you can, you know, like I always do, I try to give you a pro side and a con side to kind of get your brain working and thinking about things a little bit to give you some perspective. Staff did make a recommendation of denial. We do believe in encouraging college student rentals to be near Ferris campus, and that we should be encouraging redevelopment of property near the campus to better those serving and attending Ferris State University. It decreases traffic, it makes it more walkable. There's lots of wins for encouraging density near campus for college students. Staff, however, is recommending denial as we didn't feel the applicant has met the statutory requirements for a variance as outlined in our ordinance.
Okay. Is there anybody who wants to speak in favor of this project? Go ahead, you wanna step up to the microphone and give your name?
Okay, as a matter of fact, on the screen is one of the houses that I own, which is right across the street. My name is David Casey. I am a partner in Big Rapids Student Housing as well as a partner in CC Vista LLC. We own a number of properties, specifically on Michigan. And the reason I'm here tonight is to speak in support of this variance approval. In reviewing the application and looking at the front and the rear elevations, this project is gonna be a little bit different than the single-family homes that are there right now. However, with the need for housing units, specifically in the city of Big Rapids, and the need for housing units close to campus, and the ability for those units to serve the student population, but also provide housing with things like upgraded electrical, upgraded water, upgraded sewer, as opposed to some of the flooding issues, some of the clay pipe sewer issues that exist in that neighborhood right now. I'm not really quite sure why the board would be opposed to granting this variance. But the reason I'm here is, again, just to support this change. And as a property owner who has multiple properties in the area, we consider this to be a step in the right direction.
Pretty good.
Okay? Now, I do have two letters, one from one of my partners and another from another partner that are in support of this variance as well. I can read them into the record, or I can just supply them to
Get them
you.
into the record.
It's up to you.
Sure. Okay,
What?
I'll get started.
Nothing.
This letter is from one of my partners, Matthew Klaus. He would like to address the members of the zoning board. He's a managing member of the entity that owns a property at 625 South Michigan Avenue, which is directly across the street. He's writing to express his full support for the dimensional variance request submitted by Mr. Ward Bell in connection with his plan to redevelop the above referenced property. He's not able to attend this evening, but would like this letter to be read in support of this variance. He's reviewed Mr. Bell's proposal and believes it represents a thoughtful and beneficial improvement to the neighborhood. His plan reflects a responsible approach to redevelopment, and he's confident that it will contribute positively to the character and vitality of the area. The updates he's proposing are long overdue and will significantly enhance the aesthetics and functionality of the currently underutilized lots. So again, he believes that granting the requested variance is in the best interest of the community and encourages the board to give Mr. Bell's application favorable consideration. So that was from Matthew Klaus, who is the managing member of our LLC, which owns Big Rapids Student Housing. The next letter is from Gerald Westgate, who is partners with Mr. Klaus in an entity called MCGW Properties LLC, and they also own a few homes in the Big Rapids area. Mr. Westgate's an active real estate investor in the city and is writing to support Mr. Bell's request for the dimensional variance. Although MCGW doesn't own any immediately neighboring properties, he wanted to express his support for the plan to redevelop the property on Michigan. So, without any further ado, would you like me to give you a copy of these letters, or is this sufficient?
Yeah, for the record, to put them in.
Yeah, I need a copy for the record. Thank you.
Anybody else in favor? This wants to speak.
Brandy.
Hearing none, is there an opportunity for those who are in opposition to this? Is there anybody opposed? If you wanna step up to the mic, state your name.
Address.
And what?
You'd like your address, too.
Yes, name and address, please.
My name is Robert Stanton. I live at 612 South Michigan Avenue, Big Rapids, Michigan. My wife is here with me, Ann. We have occupied, we purchased the home in May 1 of 1986. So 1 week from today, we will be beginning the 40th year of occupying our single-family residence, which we bought and where we raised our children and where we enjoyed the neighborhood as it was. I noticed that some things were read into the record, but I never heard where any of the people that spoke, where they live. I believe our house is going to be the closest residence to that, the proposed construction. We are immediately north of it. When I started thinking about this, I thought to myself, wow, Bob, you've been here for 40 years in this house. We lived for 13 years before that in Big Rapids and moved from a house in Big Rapids that we owned to this one. So we've been in Big Rapids for 50 plus years. 52. And I thought to myself, that's a long time. 40 years we're creeping up on. And that's half my life. And it's been a good neighborhood to be in. But then I realized, wait a minute, Bruce Jacobs was here when I came. And I looked up Bruce. Bruce and Joyce Jacobs owned their house, which is going to be torn down in this construction process, for 50 years. They worked and lived in Big Rapids for 50 years in that house and in the adjoining, and occupied the adjoining empty lots as well. Then I thought to myself, what about the other houses in my neighborhood? Because we do have a distinct little congregation of single-family residents in that area. We're joined with the Hansons today. They're new to the area, relatively speaking. They've only been there for 10 years. But the persons before them, the Hendricksons, lived there for 20 years. And the residents before them are the Lofquists, who also lived there for 20 years. And the only reason the Lofquists left was because he was a professor at Ferris, taught chemistry at Ferris. He was also a Chicago boy. He got a job as a professor at Northwestern University. That's why he left Big Rapids, to take a better job in his hometown. Our neighbors across the alley from this proposed construction, they have been in their home now for over 20 years. Across the street, the Joseph House is also used as a single-family residence. The Joseph family has owned that house and been in that neighborhood since 1984. You can add up those times. And there's something about, why do people stay there for so long? We had a good neighborhood. We had a great neighborhood. The neighbors looked out for one another. That's what we enjoy. Right now, Big Rapids is getting grants and building single-family homes and trying to get people to come in and be owners of single-family homes in the Big Rapids area. And here we've got a congregation of single-family residents where the occupancy has been lengthy and stable. Absolutely. The question we have is, is he going to be able to have 32 residents or occupants, I call them, or 36 occupants? Well, I'll tell you, 32 or 36 teenage, unsupervised people going to be living right next door to me is a fearful, fearful thought. I'm concerned. I'm really concerned about what it's going to do to the value of my home. I'm even more concerned about what it's going to do to the inhabitability of my home. Right now, as I'm talking to you, I'm under contract to have my driveway resurfaced and resealed. I'm under contract to have the bushes around my house, which have been eaten by the deer for the last 2 years and will never come back, all pulled out so we can replant. I've contracted to have my fireplace in my living room worked on, which I want to make improvements to. I don't know if I want to spend the money. I don't know if I'm going to be able to live in that house with 32, much less 36 unsupervised young people. I think about my daughter when I am here. She's got 2 teenage boys. The older one is a good kid, a smart kid. He's National Honor Society. He's on the football team. He's on the basketball team. He's on the track team. But he makes the dumbest decisions in the world. And I say, Sarah, how can Wilster be so stupid? And she said, Dad, he's a young man. His brain is not yet fully developed. And that's what we get. Look what we get if you drive south on Michigan Avenue and you go to, what's the first fraternity house there? Locust and Michigan Avenue. A little less than 2 weeks ago, Friday night, 2 weeks ago, I was coming home from work, 5 o'clock. That's a 4 stop signs in that intersection. And the fraternity there was, of course, having a party. It was a nice night. The bong table was out. I don't know why in Big Rapids all the bong tables have to be in the front yard, but they seem to be. And they also seem to require participants never wearing shirts and drinking out of red cups. But be that as it may, I went past that spot and there was a bong table, games being played, drinks, music blasting all over, and the inevitable sign at the corner of that lot said, "You honk, we drink." Busy intersection, homes all around, and they have a sign that says, "You honk, we drink." That's what young people do these days when they're left to their own devices. I went home, we had our drink before dinner. I said, well, let's go to I'll go to Crankers and get us fish dinner. Came back, same thing. Party hadn't dropped a bit. I said, oh my gosh. So I said, well, it's Friday night. It won't happen again. The next Wednesday, it was a nice day. I was coming home, bong table working, drinks passing around, music blasting all over the place. You honk, we drink again. That's what young people do when they're unsupervised. And the more of them you have, the less chance you have of having peace and quiet, a place you can enjoy your home and relax. It's just the way it is. And I am truly concerned that my home, due to the close proximity to this proposed project, will be uninhabitable. Literally uninhabitable. Will I put money into my house now? How, what I gotta think? The project's gonna cut the value of my house dramatically, right out of the chute. So, if I can't sell it and it's uninhabitable, what the world am I supposed to do? Now, I'm not saying that the difference between 36 residents, unsupervised occupants, or 32 will make a tragically huge difference, but it will be something. Now, we have, as I say, a group of neighbors that live there. In the morning, on a snowy day, I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, look out my window, and if it requires it, I get up and I snow blow. I snow blow my driveway, I snow blow my sidewalks, I snow blow the sidewalk the whole length of the block. I snow blow all of the driveway inlets, you know, where the plow comes along and dumps all the snow onto your driveway. I snow blow all of those out. I snow blow the sidewalks and shoveled the porch of Mr. Bell's residence, so that the girls could get DoorDash to feed them that night.
I don't wanna, you know, we get it, I get it.
Okay.
And if there's other people to speak, I don't wanna have you go on, so, you're opposed, it's not so much for the property itself, except for who occupies. That's what it
Well,
sounds like to me, but I'm not, that's a different.
The question tonight is he gonna be able to lease to 36 individuals or 32, as I understand the question tonight? And
I got a question.
in my book, 32's at least a little better than 36.
Okay,
Just a real quick comment. Does it not still have to go before the planning commission on a site plan review?
Yes.
So this is not definitely saying that they will actually build either or. This is just a variance for the size of the building. Then they gotta get permission from the planning commission to even build the building.
I was under the impression that tonight's meeting was a variance to allow them to have
To
36
allow them to do
occupants
that.
to go from
instead of
7 or
32
8 to
occupants.
9.
Tonight's meeting is for the variance from 8 to 9.
Right.
But regardless of the decision made tonight, the application will have to go, not the variance application, a site plan review will have to be done by the planning commission at a future meeting. At a
Which
with a
doesn't
different board.
guarantee it going either way. It could
It's a
still.
permitted use by right,
Right,
so really they're just reviewing the site plan to make sure the site plan is in conformance with the ordinance
okay, all right.
Thank
and
you.
the master plan.
You're very welcome. Is anybody else in opposition to this? We've got a long way to go. I don't say you, try to keep it brief and state your name and where you live.
I've been on the zoning board before,
Pull
so
it down a little bit, Connie.
I've been on the zoning board before, so I know what the thing. I'm Connie Larson. Bill, my husband, is here. We live at 123 Cedar Street, the property west of 624 and 630 Michigan Avenue. It is my understanding this board will be using sections 13.5 and 13.6 as the criteria when determining whether to approve the requested variance to add an additional unit to the proposed allowed 8-unit, 32-bedroom multifamily building. We are opposed to the additional unit as it does not meet most of your criteria in both sections 13.5 and 13.6. And it is not necessary as the owner is allowed to build the 8-unit with or without this variance. For the most part, this was a residential neighborhood with 5 residents and 2 rental homes, recently becoming 4 residents and 3 rental homes. The addition of an 8-unit rental will completely change the dynamics by placing multifamily rental units next to 2 of the residential properties that are adjacent to it. All the public services and facilities will be affected, and some will have to be updated. This addition does not protect the natural environment. It will be destroying it. It is not promoting the use of land in a good social manner, and it is not compatible at all with the adjacent uses of land. There are no restrictions unreasonably preventing the property owner from using the property for the permitted purpose. The variance would not do substantial justice to the other property owners in the district. There is no plight, dangerous, difficult, or otherwise unfortunate situation for the owner. There is no practical difficulty, and the increased financial return shall not of itself be deemed sufficient to warrant a variance. I am asking you to not allow this additional unit and help us salvage what we can of what was a unique neighborhood and is being destroyed by a multifamily rental building being plopped in the middle of it. Thank you.
Thank you. So it ends up with two.
Anybody else? I see someone else is coming up. Again, state your name and where you live.
I'm Mary Hanson. I live at 606 South Michigan Avenue. You can see my house right on the corner there. We would be 2 doors down from this complex, which we are opposed to, and I realize now this isn't the meeting for opposing the actual building or not. It's just zoning. But my question is, wasn't there something about 5 years ago or so where there was a plan to make Big Rapids more of a family-friendly town, get some of these homes back into single-family residence, because that's my understanding what is needed for this town. Does that sound familiar? Am I correct?
Well, we just went through a master plan that brings out a whole lot of multi-use buildings, a lot of single-family and multifamily duplexes. There's, in fact, this is the master plan right here for all of that. That was
Okay.
just completed this last year or so, year and a half.
Okay,
So
So-
there's varying things, and you can go see that
okay.
on the website.
So to me, putting a building up like that is gonna end that. It's gonna be the end all. I'm with Bob. We also are right in the middle of putting a brand new driveway in and doing some things to the house, and we've put a hold on that right now because I'm afraid our property value is gonna be decreased. Who's gonna wanna live next to that? And I'm sad because we moved here because we wanted to be part of a small town. There's still a small town charm here. And that's what I wanted for my family. And also, my son, my husband Randy's here with me. Our son was recently in a motorcycle accident. He's now a paraplegic. So we have moved him in with us because we have this wonderful neighborhood that is helping us to take care of him. And I have Bob and Ann that help us with him. The Pikes across the street have been very helpful to us. We have it's a real neighborhood there. And that's gonna be the end all. I got that letter in the mail and my heart sank to think that we've gotta move again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else in opposition?
I'll make this quick. I'm Ann Stanton. My husband Bob spoke to you just a few minutes ago. One of these gentlemen here speaking in favor of the program said that he thought that the apartment building that they proposed to build would be a thoughtful addition to Big Rapids and to that location. And I don't find anything about it thoughtful at all. We have considerable traffic, automobile traffic, motorcycle traffic, dirt, dust, trash, debris, beer pong tables, and now we're gonna add to all of that. We take care of our own property, student rentals do not. And I don't ever see the landlord out there picking up the trash or dealing with the noise of the motorcycles racing each other in front of our homes. We thought that the city of Big Rapids had repeatedly encouraged family units in these neighborhoods in the city, and it's pretty upsetting that apparently they don't. So, sorry, Mr. Bell, but you're tearing us all apart, and I think it's a shame.
Anybody else in opposition?
All right, can I say something?
You will have a yes. If there is anybody else in opposition,
I'm not in opposition. I was gonna say something to
well,
the owners.
we're gonna get a chance for you to rebut.
Okay, okay.
So hearing none, now's your chance.
Okay.
You come up to the.
So, speaking to all the homeowners in the neighborhood, I can certainly appreciate the angst and the issues that you guys have with the property.
Well, we've been good neighbors to your girls.
You guys have been wonderful neighbors. 110% you guys have been wonderful neighbors. The area that you guys live in is an R3 zoning district. That allows for density, right? So I can totally appreciate that, and I'm not advocating one way or the other. And look, I mean, at the end of the day, this may not get built for a variety of different reasons. But I would just advise you guys to know that when the zoning commission went through and rezoned everything and decided where higher density could be and where they wanted student housing, where they wanted all that stuff, you guys live in that district. I don't know if you live in that district. I don't know if you live in R3 zoning district or not, but R3 zoning district is the district where you're supposed to do multifamily. It is where you're supposed to do apartment buildings like this. It is where you're supposed to do student housing. So, as much as I can appreciate that, I didn't write the zoning law. I didn't adopt the zoning law. I'm just abiding by the zoning law, and the only thing I'm asking is the variance. And Mr. Stanton, I can totally appreciate that going from 32 to 36. But the issue really is not with me going from 32 to 36 units. It's that you guys live in an R3 zoning district, and how you got there and when you guys brought the property and those things. I mean, I can't speak to that, right? So that's the only thing I just wanted to come up here and say that everything that I'm doing is by right, with the exception of going from 32 to 36. So and you guys have been blessed neighbors, both of you, and I appreciate you guys treating my daughter and her friends that are on the soccer team with great arms. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
We need to get it rezoned.
Right. Yeah, if you wanted to do something, you would have to get it rezoned, right?
All right.
Okay, the public hearing is closed, and we are now into fact finding. And, one question I have, you did say, once this was all, when it gets to the planning commission, if they say, yeah, it's a go, whether you have 7, or whether you have 8, or whether you have 9, the footprint is the same, correct? 3, 3, 2, 2, 3, whatever, I mean, it's a 3-level, however that's going to work.
That is correct.
Okay, so that's not changing going from 8 to 9.
Right. And I mean, I would just submit that a lot of other jurisdictions, whether it's in the state or counties or even out of state, right? A lot of zoning ordinances follow FAR, so floor area ratio, which dictates what the density of the building and what the footprint can be on that building, and not restricting the number of units. One of the issues that if you read the Smith Group, and I don't know if you guys have read the Smith Group piece, but I mean, you guys should look, because they're trying to push higher density and everything into Big Rapids. But nonetheless, they talk about having affordable units, right? They talk about pushing student housing closer to Ferris State.
But do the city want this to just not be residential and just?
Okay, you got it, we need to cut that part off.
So the only thing I was just gonna say is that restricting it by the number of units is almost counterintuitive to what the Smith Group and what the county would like to adopt.
I read that where, just square footage alone, you're looking at something a little bit
You can
different.
build a 15,000 square foot
I don't
building.
think we have that right here, right now.
Right.
So that's something.
Totally
they have to
agree.
change.
Totally agree.
Okay.
Yep.
Anybody have questions? Got some questions?
Well, are we in fact finding or?
Yes, we're in fact finding. Let's go to fact finding.
Yeah. Did you want to start or?
Go for it.
Boy. So we can only determine how many units. couple observations. Of course, we haven't gotten to the 4 qualifications yet
Not
that
yet.
we have to get to that.
Yeah.
And I have a few things to say about that, but, again, this doesn't really matter in the sense, I guess you can do this by right, even though I think it's totally out of character for the neighborhood. I grew up here in Big Rapids. I've lived here my whole life, either inside or outside the city limits. Those 3 houses on there, I've been in all 3 of them back in the days when there was Dr. Walters, Gene Kelly, and the Waddells. So those homes have been there forever, but again, I understand also what that gentleman's saying. But I feel it doesn't fit the character of the neighborhood. I mean, it's big, it's blocky, it's modern. It's not same architecture at all to what's there. And the increased traffic, when you have 4 bedrooms in each unit, I don't know how many, offhand, how many children. Students, or could be non-students, I suppose, are gonna be in there, but that's gonna be a lot more traffic. And I question the need for student housing in the city. We have, Tioga Park used to be condos, couldn't sell them, then they went to student rentals. Now, if I'm not mistaken, it's back to single-family ownership. Then we have 3 rental complexes out Fuller Avenue. I think there's a small one on Morrison there by the pizza place. We have 830 Water Tower, we've got Venel Place, and then south of Big Rapids, we have at least 2 or 3 other complexes for student rentals. I don't think we're hurting for student rentals. We're hurting more for single-family residences. That's why the city's been building some, and they've been selling well. So, then again, I don't think it meets number 1, but we haven't quite got yet to that. I think keeping it lower density is the one thing we can do for this.
Population-wise.
Pardon?
Population-wise, you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because right now, it's not the
Right.
building itself.
But by what we can do, at least we can make it less people.
Basically, you're lacking 2,898 feet.
Correct.
That's what you're lacking.
Yes, sir.
This is new construction, correct?
Yes, sir.
Is there any way that you could add that footage in this new construction?
So it's not, I'm restricted by the lot size.
Okay.
Right, so you can't, if I could extend the lot, I mean, it'd be, but that's one of the issues with the way the zoning ordinance is written, restricting it for the first 2 units to 12,000 square feet and every unit thereafter 3,000 square feet. That really doesn't restrict the size of the building, right? It just restricts the number of units, which,
With
you know,
parking and stuff.
everything that I've read about the master plan and all that stuff, like the city of Big Rapids wants higher density in the R3 zoning district. So that's what the effort is here to try and do.
Go ahead. Anybody else? Go ahead.
I just had a question. You had asked, when you briefly touched about I was only an alternate at the time of listening to you, asking of the variance before, so you couldn't make what you asked for a year ago work then, and, you wanted to come up with this scenario, or?
No, I mean, look, you totally could, whether there was 9 units or whether the existing house stayed and you were to build a duplex on the vacant lot, or
right.
whether you were to tear down the existing house and build a duplex. Like there's a lot of different mix and match, or whether you build what's there and just build 8 units and build a community space in the center of it, right? Like,
Right.
so the short answer is when we purchased the property, I didn't even have this idea, but like I said, my realtor was saying, hey, look, you're in an R3 zoning district. I originally looked at the house for my daughter, and my daughter was on the soccer team, and she has her soccer teammates that live there, and like the Stantons who live next door, they've been awesome, and so the original intent wasn't that.
Okay.
Correct.
You have anything to add?
Nothing right out? Well, we can get into the analysis, the fact finding. As we go by it, there's 4 criteria. The ordinance restrictions for number 1 on 13.6. The ordinance restrictions unreasonably prevents the property owner from using the property for permitted purpose. And the supportive part of it is the applicant is seeking to place the highest and best use on the property while still being able to maintain the requirements for landscaping, parking, and setbacks. Against it, the applicant still has the ability to develop the property for multifamily use. Let me ask this question. Obviously, you have to rent to anybody who is legally able to rent to, whether it's student, family, or anybody else. I don't know if you have a target audience, but you can't restrict
That's correct.
rental.
Correct. Yeah, no, I mean, there's no purpose in, yeah, we're not trying to restrict any of the renters or anything like that. It's just a 4-bedroom. But that's also where the plan that I gave you, like if we're trying to get, single family units, like I know my daughter's soccer coach has struggled to find an apartment, like a 1-bedroom apartment here that, that is reasonable and that is not falling apart and a whole host of other things. So being able to do 17 units there, a variety of 1-bedrooms, 2-bedrooms, 3-bedrooms allows to serve that. Because not somebody like her, she wouldn't be coming in and renting a 4-bedroom apartment with 4 bathrooms.
And currently, the house, right now you have currently 7 you can rent to on this property.
That's correct.
With 3 baths, we have 3
Yes,
bathrooms.
and 3 bathrooms, yes.
Okay. Anything on,
So,
Are we going through the criteria at this point?
Yep.
So I believe, just based on this plan alone, the applicant is aware that they could use this in a variety of different ways. And they're really seeking a variance in order to do it the way that they would like to do it. And therefore, it is not an unreasonable restriction on what they want to do with the property.
okay,
correct, you mean it doesn't meet number 1.
We can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So the applicant has alternative plans of different arrangements that would be within the current ordinance. And as a result of that awareness, I have a hard time seeing that it meets criteria number 1, which prevents, or that's a unreasonable restriction or unreasonably prevents the applicant from using the property by right.
I would say, so that plan that you have is not even, that plan does not meet the local zoning ordinance.
Okay.
The one I gave you,
Sure.
with the colors, because that's 17 units.
Sure.
So that doesn't meet I don't know if that's the one you're speaking to or not, but yeah.
But you were aware that you could
Do 8 units.
do 8 units, but you could also you could use that property in a variety of different ways, yes?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yes, 100%.
All right,
number 2, the variance would do substantial justice. Are we done with number 1? Are we good? The variance would do a substantial justice to the applicant and possibly other property owners in the district, unless the relaxation of regulations than the requested not be provide substantial relief to the property owner. So the supportive of this is having more college rentals closer to campus and further from single-family districts as discussed in the master plan as part of a way to increase housing density in the appropriate areas. Against this, the applicant is already increasing the housing with new units. The zoning ordinance provides limitations to ensure development is done in a way that is reflective of the character of Big Rapids, including sufficient green space and appropriate scale in the right location. Questions on number 2?
yeah, I don't think he meets that one either.
Because he can already go to
He
8.
can already
He can already go to 8.
He can already do that.
Yeah, I'm saying, yes, I agree with you.
Looking at your plans too, I saw a lot of we were talking about the location obviously next to the neighbors and all that kind of stuff. You'll be making it, one thing I'm always concerned about, because we had it out by our house, is lighting. I mean, would you have to have a certain type of lighting for a property like this? How that would affect? You'd have to make sure, I would have to make sure that the lighting is not intrusive to neighbors, I would think.
Yeah, and I think, yeah, right, that something like that would come up in planning, because I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
that would
sure
come
the
up,
city,
yeah.
city of Big Rapids has lighting requirements that I
Yeah,
have to meet,
absolutely.
and, yeah, so,
Okay,
yes, sir.
okay. And then all the landscaping and all of that, you'd at least try to make it where it's good for the neighborhood.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah, no, I mean, I think right now, I mean, we've worked with the city of Big Rapids to get to the landscaping that's on our current plan to be in compliance.
Okay.
So,
Number 3, okay, so, yeah, but you can go to 8. You currently have 7, you can go to 8. The plight of number 3, the plight of the property owner is due to the unique circumstance of the property and not a general condition of the neighborhood. The support of the property is adjacent to Ferris State University and should be used to its highest and best use. Encouraging more residential college targeted units near the campus decreases the need for college rentals in other areas of the community. I suppose that's true. Against this, the applicant already has an advantage over many properties with the second lot. This allows for more intense use of the lot in the neighborhood. As such, there is no uniqueness for the property.
Have you thought about using the property, like, going up to the, increasing the A, like, I still don't get why you, like, you just can't add on to what you existing have, then that within our variance.
again, I mean, what I'm trying to accommodate is the master plan that's the city of Big Rapids has adopted for the R3 zoning district.
Specifically in the master plan?
I'm sorry?
Is your address specifically in the master plan?
The R3 zoning
The
district
R3
is,
zoning
yes.
is-
Yeah, I mean, it's specifically in there where we're targeting to have higher density living. And so the answer is like the highest and best use, as Michelle put in the packet, is what I'm trying to achieve there. And the full disclosure, I mean, I'm trying to accommodate what the city of Big Rapids is asking in its master plan. So could I do less? Absolutely, as he pointed out. I mean, you could certainly do less, but and again, that's completely opposite of what the Big Rapids zoning master plan is asking for.
I actually really appreciate that you are trying to work towards that master plan. I am having a hard time seeing why that property is particularly unique, like the circumstance of that property. Like, so there's a master plan. That master plan came with some ordinances though, but, and in my mind, policy by variance is not good policy, right? Policy exists. There's like, we can challenge and try to change some of those ordinances, but policy via variance, in my mind, like, I'm having a hard time seeing why that's unique.
Understand?
Any other questions here?
Yeah, but you have anything?
So number 4, the alleged practical difficulty has not been created by any person presently having an interest in the property. So on the supporting the zoning ordinance is preventing the property being used to its highest and best use, even though the applicant is meeting all the requirements for parking, landscaping, and setback. Against this, the applicant is applying to remove the existing structure and build a new multifamily structure. It is not an existing structure that is trying to work into modern development patterns. And it is a new structure. Sometimes it's the best look when you look at the neighborhood. You look if that was to zoom over, there's gonna be a whole bunch of trees right now where it hides that property on this side and on the other side.
Correct.
When I looked at it, those would probably all come down and all that kind of stuff. Guess what I'm looking at is you can still increase what you got. Cause you were originally at 7, you can go to 8. Whether you build that,
I just want to add a point of clarity. So right now, there's 7 residents that live there, and we're talking about going to 8 units, which would be, as Mr. Stanton pointed out, that would be 32 residents.
right, yeah, that's what okay, got it. And but it's gonna be, probably, you're gonna have 3 floors, however you have the 8 units configured. So whatever's left over would be, like you mentioned, a community room or a storage room or something else.
Correct.
Still the same footprint,
Correct.
still the same thing if everything goes through.
Correct.
It is in the master plan, in fact, I made note of that one.
It's all black. Match the R3. The whole street is, or
Well,
parts.
what I was gonna look at, and probably because I just messed this up, I won't find it, but it is in here where we are trying to encourage housing, more housing, different types of housing, single-family housing, duplexes, multifamily housing, professionals, and this actually falls into this category of us being able to do that. The footprint's the same, it's not gonna change, when it comes to building time, assuming he gets the okay from the planning commission. However, rules are rules. I've been an umpire for 10 years, baseball umpire. And rules are rules, and I have to look at them and see what's out, and there's also sometimes judgment calls that you have to make in the game of baseball. This is not baseball, don't get me, I'm not trying to go one way or the other with this right now, but trying to find 2,800 feet out of something that's not there, unless you buy another property that's next door, which I don't think that wants to happen, then you're limited to what you got. And by our rules, by the rules that it says here, you got room for 8. So I think in terms of number 4, I don't know if I touched on this. You're trying to build a new structure, and you have to follow the rules of what the new structure is. If you're gonna build another house on the other property, maybe that would've been a little bit different, I don't know. I'm looking at the fact that you've already got 7, you wanna go to 9, but you can go to 8 without an issue. Questions? You guys got going on here?
I pretty much said my piece,
You said your piece?
that it doesn't meet these requirements.
Yeah, I think I would just to add on to what I had said before. I think that there is a lot of contention about the Big Rapids ordinances around R3, right? R3 is part of the master plan. The master plan, had lots of public input into that kind of what we'd like to see that area look like, but that did also come with some ordinances. And as this body, I do not think that we are in a real position to do policy as this body. And like the real issue that is kind of being debated here, and the letters of support are with the ordinance. It's as written, and I think that that's not us. Like, we're just like, is it appropriate to do a variance for this particular situation? We have criteria that we have to follow if we're going to do those types of variances. From the discussion, like, I'm not getting much sense that we think that it is meeting those criteria, even though like the wish of the master plan might be different, but like we still have to contend with the ordinances as written.
I agree.
Okay.
Me too.
Anybody make a motion?
I guess I will
We got,
move.
we got 3 ways, we can approve it with conditions, or we can deny it.
I'll move that the non-use variance application for 624 and 630 South Michigan Ave, 1714-160-003, to allow an additional unit then permitted by ordinance in the R3 district be denied because it does not meet standard of 13.6, 1, 2, or 3 or 4 of the zoning ordinance.
Second.
There's a motion, there's a second. So this would be for a denial, there's a roll call.
Nikki?
Yep.
Lemke?
Yes.
Johansson?
Yes.
Zuby?
Yes.
Walton?
Yes. The motion is passed. Work with 7, or work with 8. Or come back later with something else, or you go to your next stop at the planning commission, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Push for those ordinances.
Was that your picture? I'm sorry.
I'm gonna go build it. Here.
It's not gonna change.
Every time we talk, you think I'm crazy?
They should publish what they want. Because they're not, for me to put $800,000 single-family houses in that neighborhood.
That's why I can't.
But it should be applied to certain areas. Discretion, doesn't mean every arbitration.
I think the answer,
That's the planning.
That's why we rezoned RP.
Just don't want the noise.
That was a founding father of the RP zone.
Oh, then you're gonna be good in the next one.
Chair?
Okay.
I know so much more than you know.
So we got,
You got 2 more.
we got 2 more. Let's see, I wrote it down, just a minute. Which
117
one?
South Warren.
that's what I'm,
Question about,
That-
is he the owner, cause he's not the owner of Funeral Home anymore. He's not the owner of the Funeral Home anymore, but that's,
I don't think he's currently, I think he's in transition.
cause he does, as the owner name.
He's still in bonds.
I think he's still in transition or something to that effect.
But it's not about the funeral.
No, it's next door, it's,
It's still in the
Okay.
third ownership of, it's still.
All right, we have, number 2 is, I don't get this many this often, or a lot.
I have
Not lately.
all over the place.
So number 2, we have a use variance request for 117 South Warren Avenue. Mont Funeral Homes, the owner variance request to allow up to 3 single-family units. And if we could get a little background, Michelle.
This one has a lot of confusing background to it.
Yeah, I know. I was there when it was a dentist office.
So when it was a dentist office, it's actually, it was, there's a lot of background. Let me just read what I wrote, because I probably won't be able to explain it. The property, zone RP is used for a variety of different uses, some of which are conforming and some of which are not conforming. So other properties in the city have RP district. It was adopted in the early 2000s to kind of do a transformation of the neighborhood and try to get some of the areas back to single family. This property at the time of that adoption of the RP district was actually when the dentist office was in the property. Thank
Okay.
you. And so, the RP district allows for commercial use on the main floor, and then it also allows for single-family use and 1 additional occupant.
Thus the RP residential professional.
So yeah, that's where the RP residential professional comes in. The caveat of the single occupant being allowed with the single family is if it's owner occupied. And so when the property was being used for a dentist office, it changed from whatever zoning it was before into the RP district, which made it conforming. It's a very unique case that actually changing the zoning made it conforming to the new zone. Most of the time when you change zoning, the property becomes legally non-conforming. This was the opposite, it became conforming. So, it had a single-family unit and it had a qualifying commercial use. So it lost its ability to have the rentals or to have multifamily or multi-single-family units in it because it was conforming at the adoption of the RP district. So the applicant is now requesting to have up to 3 single-family units, which is not permitted by right in the RP district because it only allows that single-family unit plus an additional occupant.
It's currently for sale, correct, right now? It's for sale, right, correct, right
I
now?
believe it is for sale.
And it is.
I'd like to say quickly, I am here to represent the owner on his behalf,
Yes.
in case that becomes relevant.
Okay, we'll get there, we'll get to you.
No, I was just making a comment that's currently for sale.
I believe it is, yes.
And there's people living in it correctly right now, illegally, like, wrong then at this point.
There are
Anyway.
people living in it. I cannot attest to how many people exactly live in it because
I know how many there are.
it's not currently enrolled in our rental program, which it should be.
Right, that's what I'm saying, it's kinda under the table at this point right now.
So we're working on, depending on how this comes
Fixing that.
out, getting it into the correct rental program.
Gotcha.
Okay, for the opportunity for the applicant to make a presentation. You're up, state your name,
Sure.
and you are, and where you live, but you are representing Mike Monk.
Yes.
So-
Joe McNally, I live on Woodward Avenue, just outside the city. I am a realtor who has represented the city of Bay Rapids for the last almost 6 years, and I also am the realtor representing Mr. Monk for the sale of this property. I was called upon very last minute by Mr. Monk, who thought he was going to be here, and said, "Joe, can you run down there and stand here for me?" So there are a lot of missing elements that I am not going to have answers to, likely. So please forgive me for that, but I will do my best with what I know. Mr. Monk wanted to sell the property. We listed the property. When I did the tour, there are 3 units in that property. There are 3 bathrooms, 3 doors, entrances. There are 3 different sets of occupants on the property. I mentioned to Mr. Monk, we're going to sell this as a multi-unit. It's a multi-unit property. And did not think it unusual. This is 117, 109. Can we, is this me?
If you go to the, yeah,
Oh, there we go. I think I gotta spin around here though. I'm gonna do that. Not touchscreen.
not a touch screen.
Not a touchscreen, man. How do I spin it?
I'm trying to get to the other side of the street,
I'm trying to get to the other side of the street, I
which is
think.
commercial, I believe.
Oh, wait, no. I think I have it
Isn't
right.
it right there? Yeah, it's
That's
right
the-
there.
That's the one
That's
where the
the
trees
house.
are, that's.
Yeah, with the trees.
Yes,
Yes.
good. I think,
Yes.
That's
I,
capital.
yep.
Side.
I think I'm good. So, did not think much of it. As you can see, we have a multi-occupant house next door. If you go down here to the next one, which I believe is 114? Oh no, 109. That would be 109, which is next door. This is a 2-unit right here on the other side. If you go here, this one is on Michigan. I think the address is on Michigan. That one's a 4-unit, if I'm correct. And then behind it right here, I think there's another 4-unit. So it's kind of sandwiched in the middle of all these 4, 4, 2, and then whatever the occupancy is of the frat house here. Not certain of that. So when we had a couple prospects, one of them called the city and called me, and I called Mr. Monk and said, "Hey, I think we have a problem. This is not a multi-unit." And so that's why I'm here today. He says he thought it was. I don't know how long it has been turned into 3 units. Maybe Michelle, maybe that's something you know. Oh, I don't know. He says it's been a long time, and I think that evidence is certainly present when you walk through the place. It looks like it's been this way for a long time. I'm not saying it shouldn't have been requested. That's something that I think Mr. Monk was taken a little surprised by, but he's hoping that he feels that the highest and best use of the property is to match what's next door, match the current use. And I can't help but agree. It does not match the zoning. It is RP, and it does not match the zoning. The rest of the houses all around it matches the use that's being behind it, next door to it on both sides, and then up the street. That's really all I had to say. I can answer any other questions anyone might have about it, but that's why we're where we are here.
So Mr. Monk has no clue as an owner or landlord that he got into this, like, no clue? Like, I don't understand that.
I can't speak for
I
Mr.
don't
Monk.
understand that, like.
Yeah, I
How
can't
can
speak
you
for
do
that
that?
in particular, but I think that I think there were some maybe assumptions made that were incorrect.
Does he currently own this right now?
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay, currently, yeah. I
He
figured
does.
He does. It says he's an owner. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
All right, good. We'll see what we can tell.
Okay.
Anybody else in favor of this that want to speak? Hearing none. I thought I saw you raise your hand, but maybe not. Anybody in opposition to this? Hearing none. We will go on to any written materials that you received.
I have not received any communication
Okay,
on this request. I've received a lot of phone calls from realtors before the request came in,
Okay.
trying to figure it out.
okay.
But as far as once the public notice has gone out, I haven't received,
Yeah, I saw that too. That's why I figured this was coming up.
I haven't received
Okay,
neighboring properties.
all right. Public portion is closed. We'll go into fact finding. Question I have, and it came up with, is that, I think that's Kappa Psi, if I know my Greek.
Really bad at the fraternity.
Is that being used right now?
I think so.
Do we know how many are living in it
Yeah,
right now?
there's people there.
It's been there forever.
Well, that's,
I graduated in 2001, and that was Kappa Psi when I graduated in 2001. It's been there for a long time.
It was back in the 70s. It was.
I'm just curious, because you're making a point, some have more, you're kind of smack dab, when I was looking at, this is all RP, right? All that's RP, and you have this over here, you have the two over here, you have on one corner, I wasn't sure if that was part of the RP, I think it is. And you have the two units, you have this one right here going, oops, it was a dentist, I went to the dentist when I was, back in '84. So that was a couple years ago, and I figured, because when I went in there, I figured there was something else in there, like it was probably a home on top. I don't know if he lived there or not. Anyway, long story short, we're sitting at RPs that have a whole lot. I'm curious about the Kappa Psi. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And that Psi, PSI.
What are you?
My point is,
what's the point?
my point is they want this to be for a three-family.
So we're gonna do R three,
Or three,
Unit.
yeah, kind
just
of.
for that address.
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious as to, that's really mixed.
Well, it was that way in the beginning, way back.
Yeah.
And that building moved into compliance when we changed it to RP.
Because of the dental
Why-
office.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
Why should we take it non-conforming when it was conforming?
Okay,
And then it was used as a rental with no rental certificate, no inspections for code violations.
okay.
That building's
So
just
that
been,
was- It's just been out in Neverland. in
and,
terms of-
yeah, it's in bad shape.
I was gonna ask Michelle, what are they doing as a code, like, what is your position, what are you doing to go in and?
So once we determine what the building can be used through this variance process, we will go through a process of going, he will pay for inspections, we will get in, do inspections, tell him if there's upgrades that need to be made to meet the rental certificate program. And if he does, then he'll have to go and make those upgrades in order to get his
So
rental
his for
certificate.
sale would be put on hold at that point
Well,
until you comply.
or he's gonna have to figure out something to do with his, like, he could do it before he sells it, and then when he sells it, we require new owners to get a new certificate. We don't transfer certificates from one owner to a second owner. So the new owner would also have to get a certificate, do the rental inspection, get a certificate through that. If he sells it right away, we would work with the new owners to get them into compliance. Some of it depends on the timetable of sale, but if it's,
Correct.
if it's gonna.
But you're working on your,
Yeah, it's on our well, it's obviously on our radar.
right.
And he knows he is gonna have to go through the rental program if he continues to own it.
Okay.
If it gets approved as a rental.
Do
Okay.
do you know if, Mr. Monk owns other rentals around town?
I don't believe he owns any other rentals in town. To my knowledge, he owns this. He owns the next
Next one.
building that we're talking
Right.
about, and the other buildings he owns. One is a commercial building, and the other one is in the process of transitioning with his funeral home. So to my knowledge, there's no other rentals that he owns, but I do also not dig into the rental, I mean, I oversee the rental program, but I don't know all the landlords, so.
So, not doing anything else, he can use it as someone can live upstairs and it's a business downstairs.
Correct.
That's what the RP as of
The
right
RP.
now. So two residents would have to vacate and find other places to go to,
Correct.
as it sits right now.
As it sits right now, if a variance was not granted.
Okay.
It's, to me, it just seems like it's in a nice spot for having people, again, students or families, you
See,
know.
I could disagree because we created the RP zone for a reason. It
Okay,
was a residential professional.
okay,
It was to have these older homes and older buildings be usable and not be full of 14, 15 different people. And I can't see approving something to make it a non-conforming for the zone that it's in.
okay.
It's zoned RP.
But the one next door,
Well, that's been there since the 70s. You don't go by necessarily
well,
what's next
I'm just
door.
saying, but that's all RP. So if they would get rid of that, in fact, I saw on Google, it said permanently closed, so I don't know if anybody's in there or not on Google, so I
Well, if they
don't know.
don't use that as a multi-student rental, it'll revert back to RP. They will lose their multiple people
Okay,
rental usage. They'll lose that after a certain part of time.
So are they considering that fraternity then as a business? Is that how they're looking at that?
No.
The fraternity is I
Is
hate the word
grand-
grandfathered in. The
Okay.
fraternity is a legal non-conforming use.
That's what it
Which means it was legally established prior to the existence of this zoning district, so it's legally allowed to
Stay Until they
maintain
leave.
that status
until they leave.
until they
Okay.
make changes.
Gotcha, thank you.
that's how that works in these types of zoning, or any zoning, I guess.
In any
if they're-
zoning.
And it has worked really well, cause I've lived where I live
Okay,
for 20-some years. And we did this RP zone for a reason, to reclaim properties and back into single-family businesses. And it's worked. It's,
so the house next door, which you said there was 2 occupants, that's probably a business too, or?
All 5 are all non-conforming
They're all
around
all
it.
non-conforming.
They're all multi-units in an RP. all of them.
Okay,
So the history of the RP district a little bit is a lot of the RP district has been used for multifamily or single rentals for a number of years. So there are a substantial number of RP zoning or RP properties that are not conforming to the current zoning ordinance because the RP district was added to the ordinance in the 2000s.
back in the 2000s,
Yeah.
whatever.
And so there's still non-conformities, but Jane is, Commissioner Johansson's correct. The purpose of the RP district was to try to move those nonconformities into conforming with the RP district.
Okay,
And it
are
has,
there,
So,
I'm trying, I get it, okay, I understand. Has RP, do we have a lot of RP that are businesses right now in the city, or are there more not than there are residential professionals that are being currently used as residential professionals?
There's a mixture.
There's a mixture?
There's a mixture. There's some that have businesses on the main floor and, residential on top. There's some that are all businesses. There's a mixture of uses for the RP district.
we've also had properties that have reverted back to RP because they rented to single family. They rented first students and they went to single family. And then they tried to go, you can't go back. It has to be single family. So we've actually gained single family homes in this area and places with businesses, which I know several of them.
So we're really looking at wanting single-family homes here in the long run, but not necessarily.
Well, a
what does the
business,
master plan say for the street, that area? Is it
Well,
still
it's all
RP?
it's RP.
So what, I'm gonna ask this an odd question, so what are you doing with all the other non-conforming that's around this? Like, are you gonna write letters to the landlords or owners
So
or?
if they were legally established
Yeah, what's the,
prior to the RP district going into adoption, the city has no jurisdiction to come in and tell them they have to revert.
how long
To
ago,
meet the
10 years, 5 years?
There's no
30?
statute of limitation.
Until they leave, until
Till
the
they
current
officially leave.
owner leaves.
It's not
or
even
sells.
ownership, until the use becomes conforming, you can.
So if I had this
Oh,
other
okay.
house next door
Okay.
and they wanted to come in as a single residence, then, like, if I owned it, like, they're talking about a little house next door.
Uh-huh.
They can just come in as multi-use then, is what you're saying. They don't have to be the RP then, they can still use it as a multi,
If someone, so if, say the fraternity house gets sold,
right,
whoever buys it could continue to use it the same way it's being used. But if it stops being used as a multi-unit, or I'm not sure how that one's divided, if it's 2 units or if it's 1 unit with a bunch of bedrooms. But if someone changes it and moves in like a single family,
right, correct,
then it cannot revert back
to the
to,
fraternity,
to a fraternity house because it would conform to the zoning.
okay.
I get,
It gets tricky.
weird, but I get that.
No, I don't
That's
wanna,
good.
I just wanna understand it, that's all.
No, that's fine. That's what I'm here
No, it's
for.
like being grandfathered, without using the word, it's like
It-
being grandfathered in.
Legal non-conforming is what
Yeah, the
is
proper
the
word.
proper word, but
Yeah, that's true.
grandfathering is what
Is the
The old
English-
word.
is-
is what
is-
most
the
people
old
say,
word. Is
but
the-
they also use it to.
Yeah.
I struggle with it because people throw it around like everything's
I get it.
grandfather.
I got you, I'll try to comply.
It's hard to change our old ways of
I know,
speaking.
right? Well, we're basically all going into the analysis as we're talking. So if we go there, and that was my question, how many resident pro buildings are there currently being used? And you said there's a mixture that are RP, some are, some aren't, some are conforming, some aren't conforming,
I can't tell you off the top of
and
my head.
that's all right.
But it has made an impact on that neighborhood.
Yeah.
A good
Okay, if we change a single property, it will have an impact on that neighborhood?
If we
guess.
keep it as an RP,
Yeah,
that's how we've reclaimed homes in that district, gotten down the density.
okay,
That was the whole purpose of an RP.
okay.
So it's,
So if we go on number 1 then, I'm trying to get this along here. The ordinance restrictions unreasonably prevent the property owner from using the property for permitted use, or permitted purpose. Says there is a need for housing in the community more than commercial or office space. That's a true statement? There's a need for housing? but the property in the past has been used for conforming uses, dentist office and residential. Yeah, I get it. It's been, like you say, a confusing history.
Well, it's been a dental office and a apartment above since the seventies, late sixties, early seventies.
Yeah, I
I
remember
lived
that
in the
too.
building for a while.
Okay,
I know the history of that building quite well.
okay, okay.
So it's been a conforming, well, I'm not sure they had zoning ordinances back in the seventies here.
They were a lot thinner.
Yeah, you could do a lot more. So it's generally always been a conforming business or property until,
2000 something.
well, yeah,
Well, that's when you said this,
Exactly.
this was changed. So, I kinda think one can work, cause there's a need. And being against, it's just that it's so confusing, where do you go from there?
I just don't understand how Mr. Monk,
What's
I
that?
don't understand how Mr. Monk, when he bought the property, I don't understand, yeah, I just didn't know, like, I'm just baffled by that, I guess. I just, when I went through to buy a house in Big Rapids, I don't understand how you
You
don't,
do your due diligence.
yeah, I don't know how
And
you
you don't
just,
get
yeah.
rewarded for doing something wrong.
I just don't understand
one
this,
of
cause
our-
being, currently for Mr. Monk being no one in town, I'm an Townie, unfortunately, I've only been here 5 years, but everyone talks about him and he doesn't know what's going on, I just have a problem with that. I'm sorry, I'm stuck on that.
So I don't think he meets number one. Cause it can still be used for what it's zoned for.
It can be still used as an RP.
Yeah, he can have his business and he can do a little renovation downstairs.
For
And,
the business downstairs and live upstairs, or have
which
somebody live upstairs
also
or whatever.
hits me though, while I'm thinking of it before I lose my train of thought, because I tend to do that, that I was reading the advertisement for it. The basement cannot be made into an apartment, and you said it in your,
Yeah, you were asking for a fourth,
can't.
unit or something
no, I
like
was
that?
just, this is kinda off track, I just wanted to make sure you knew he couldn't make an apartment a
Yeah, he was
fourth one.
asking for a fourth unit, though, he was asking to expand,
No, I thought it was just for
No, I
three.
think he's just trying to keep it the way it is,
okay.
but,
3 single family is what he requests.
but the advertisement in the, on Zillow said,
Yes, that's where I read that, yeah, the
Fourth-
fourth, yeah.
fourth.
Write-up does not say
Correct.
there is a fourth unit. It says that it
said a
could be made
possibility
upon
of it.
request.
You
Correct.
can't put a fourth unit down there.
If you got a variance, you could.
Well,
Well, there's no egress out down there.
well, yeah, all
We're
that.
not
would-
here to, we're not here to discuss the
That's
Yeah,
point.
yeah, we're not, yeah, that's beyond point. So number two then, I'm still a little bit unclear on number one, but I'm thinking about it. The variance would do substantial justice to the applicant and possibly other property owners in the district, and a lesser relaxation of the regulation than that requested would not provide substantial relief to the property owner. There are other non-conforming uses in the RP zoning district, and it is a relatively new district. Relatively being the operative word, and we did talk about that. Against, the RP district serves as a transition area between single-family residential and more intense commercial uses. Questions, any comments that we guys got? Kinda reminds me of going from, a place in back of ours where it goes from low to high density, they're trying to work that kinda thing. Kinda here for more intense commercial uses. I think again, to me, that street is a mixed.
When was it not a dentist anymore? Was that, like you said, in the seventies, eighties, like, when did it
See, when
transition?
did Dr. Douglas leave out of that? Mid-90s, I think,
Well, there was somebody after Dr. Douglas.
was there?
Yeah,
Yeah, there
woman-
was, there was a
dentist.
woman there for a couple
Yeah,
years.
yes.
I went to her too,
Yeah, so did I,
then she left.
yeah.
Michelle, do we know if the prevailing use of this has been kind of this residential thing? Even like, do we have reason to believe that that's what its prevailing use has been?
I can tell you when the dentist left if you give me a minute.
Okay.
I went and got my.
Sorry, Michelle.
You're fine.
Like, I'm just trying to establish like what time frame. Like, has it been 20 years like this, or
I
like?
pulled the utility bills to figure it out. Big Rapids. You guys can keep discussing. I'll
Okay,
let you
we'll
know
keep
when I
going,
find it.
yeah. Well, let's go on to number 3 then. The plight of the property owner is due to the unique circumstance of the property and not a general condition of the neighborhood. The structure has been a multi-unit residential structure in the past and is likely divided in a way that would not be financially productive to remodel to meet the single-family requirement. I'm not sure. There is nothing unique about the property. Like many older homes in Big Rapids, the property and structure have gone through a plethora of uses and remodels. That probably is true.
I was gonna say that sounds like it's. Yes, that's a true statement. Yes.
It looks like the last time was 2008. Big Rapids Dentistry was in there and there.
That's the woman dentist, yeah.
And it was 2008 was their last.
Okay. Well, it's been a while.
So 17 years,
It's around there, yeah.
somewhere around there. Now, I'm gonna ask another dumb question. At that time, do you think that's when Mr. Monk bought that property in 2008?
To my understanding, that property has been in the, not necessarily owned by Mike Monk, but has been in that family for a significant amount of time.
Yeah, probably since,
So,
But I don't know if he's always like,
like the main
landlord,
person,
yeah,
well, his father, Ron,
his
Yeah.
father owned it, I think, at one time.
if you know
been in the
her name.
Monk family.
Um,
His father probably passed away, yeah,
Probably in the 80s.
yeah.
So which one are we still on?
3.
Did you want to go?
We're on 3.
We're on 3. Are we on
Yeah,
3?
Kind of, I mean, it's almost,
You know, the argument by financially, we must always remember, we are not here to make people money, even though we,
oh, absolutely, yeah,
100%,
money did not come
yes.
into
Yeah.
my
yeah.
No, I was just worried, yeah.
lexicon.
I was worried about what you had said though, if we did pass it, about them, like they wanna add that 4th unit in that.
We would say no,
Okay, that would be a condition.
that would be a
Okay,
condition.
So
understood.
they couldn't do it, they'd have to get, wouldn't they have
It
to
wouldn't
get
need to be
permission?
a condition.
Okay.
Yeah, it'd have
because
to be a
it's
separate
not-
variance.
Whole separate thing.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
whole separate thing. We would just make note
I
of how
stand
many
corrected.
units are allowed.
Okay,
I stand corrected.
alright.
Okay, I mean, I can see how this can be overcome. Well, yeah, we're not supposed to be worried about money, but I think the financial part is not to make money, but it's just gonna take a lot of money to
Not
fix
our
it up.
problem.
Fix it up, yeah.
But it's not our problem.
It's not our problem.
Well, he has to pay him money anyways if he's out of code, he's not even in, he's not
Something's gonna
currently in
happen,
compliance now.
yeah.
So it's gonna take him money to do that.
I had a very smart lawyer who used to sit on this board and made sure we all knew that.
Okay. No, yeah, about the money.
Yeah.
Got it. And I agree,
Even though you can feel sorry for people, and
I agree,
it's not our job.
I agree. All right, moving on to number 4. Let me just fall apart here. The alleged practical difficulty has not been created by any person presently having an interest in the property. The supportive is the applicant or family members have had an interest in the property for a significant amount of time. It is hard to determine who created the nonconformity. And against the applicant, that's where you.
Yeah.
The applicant has been a property owner in Big Rapids for some time and should have been aware of zoning rules and requirements.
I agree. Yes.
I don't know if Mike should have been aware, or someone in his family should have been aware, whoever heard, I wonder if Mike,
I guess I wish he was here, cause I'd ask him a bunch of
this
questions.
fell into his lap, if you will. But it's just like you said, I wish he was here to answer that question.
We had a family emergency, so it's not
No, I
like,
get it.
No, I understand. No, I know.
I just wanted to make sure like.
No, I understand, I just wish, you know,
No.
it's hard to
No, don't.
know what someone's gonna wanna
Nothing-
answer, yeah.
Nothing derogatory.
Yeah, don't take, I just
Nothing
wish,
derogatory, and I make
yeah.
that perfectly clear.
correct.
So, we have some recommendations. Any questions? I mean, a couple of you guys are any of these a non-starter?
I don't feel they meet these standards. Is there a certain amount of standards they have to meet, or they have to meet all four?
They have to meet all four, I believe.
Or is
Yeah,
what they're supposed
he
to meet.
In my opinion, he definitely doesn't meet number 1. Or number 4.
Yeah, I agree with that, for sure.
What about you there?
I can see it meeting. I can see it meeting 4. I can see it meeting 2, but I think 1 and 3 are maybe that's harder to meet.
Yeah, I just, to me, even on number 2, there's just so, I know we like the RP and we like to keep it that way. But it looks
It
like
just seems like it's not working in that particular area.
that's what I was getting at.
It's working in that area. Places right behind it have gone from rentals to single family RPs.
Okay, to single family. And that's part of the residential, it doesn't have to be residential professional, it's residential,
It can be just straight residential.
and that's what you're saying.
Well, it's done both. We've had, one with owner occupied living on the bottom floor and a rental up above. That's worked real well.
Okay,
My, the one on the 404 Maple,
okay,
that had a business in it for a while.
yep,
That's back to single family.
okay.
Next door, had a business in it. Now that's back to single family and wonderful neighbors that they are. So it has reclaimed things that people were over occupying. The house across the street from me had 17 people in it one time. 17.
That's a chunk.
Yeah, that's a chunk, all right. And now it's back to the RP with the rental above, family living below.
So that's, okay, now that's getting a little bit more in what I'm thinking. They could,
You could have a single family in 1 unit and an occupant, 1 occupant.
in one occupant, they don't have to be related, the single family doesn't have, they can rent it to a single family and have an occupant,
Single family has to be
the owner.
the owner.
Gotcha,
Under our ordinance to have an additional occupant.
okay.
They can just rent the
Yeah,
room, they can just rent a bedroom,
Or
separate.
or some of them have like a mini apartment.
Yeah,
Usually, some of them do it by bedroom, but most of them have like their own small efficiency apartment.
Okay.
So he could live upstairs and then the 2 bedrooms that are, or 2 places downstairs, one could be rented out, but the other one has to be,
the owner has to be in there somehow to rent it out.
Yes.
oh, so if he lived upstairs, he could rent both apartments downstairs?
Not
Just
with,
one to one
not
person.
with RP zoning. So the RP zoning specifies that the single family portion has to be the owner in order to have an occupant,
Gotcha.
But they
to have
can
the extra
rent
occupant.
it to a single family without an extra occupant.
Or, yes,
You can rent it to John Q. Public, that apartment, and have a business in the other spot. You do not have to live in that building.
Right.
only have to live there if you want it to
The
be
supplemental
a
occupant, like a
supplemental occupant.
caretaker. That was put in to have in case you're getting older and you need in-home health that's living with you. Or like that, it's not a relative, a relative can come, but that's what the whole purpose of that was
Okay.
for. But also it can be an unrelated occupant if you're living in it, like
Okay.
she was saying.
Well, even though it's been confusing in that area, or that section, I hope we get some marketing going on, get people coming in.
Well, we've
That's
got a
good
good
to know.
neighborhood.
Okay.
It's changed. You
Yeah.
had no idea what it was like before.
All right, so we got a motion to make. We can, approve for the three-family. We can approve with conditions, or we can deny.
Well, first let's decide, cause you said one and,
I could see us, like, I can see it meeting 4. I can make an argument for meeting 2, but I can't make an argument. I don't think
For
I can
1
make
and
an
3.
argument for 1 and 3. You need all 4.
so 1 and 3 not met.
I don't like, I don't approve of number 4, I don't think he meant that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 1, 3, and 4,
Yeah, that's not, yeah. What do you think, Al? Your opinion?
Opinions, I agree with Jane.
Okay.
so we got 3 we feel it does not meet, at least by 4 of us. I'm not sure about you.
Still thinking. No, I can see it, but I can understand the RP designation, to use it for that. Family's been there a long time. Sounded like he was informed of the situation. So, yeah,
Has he not had, the whole time he's owned that building, he's not been in compliance?
I can't answer that question because I don't know the answer to it. I know that there has been rentals on and off there. I don't have any certificate history, which means there has been no time that it's gone through the rental certificate since we've moved it to our computer database, which was probably 2012.
but it may not have nothing to do with Mike. It could be another member of the family for that
Yeah,
matter.
I don't,
It
I
was
don't
just Mike and his dad.
Yeah, I don't know, and I don't know who they rented to, if it, was family. I don't know the whole dynamics enough to answer that question fairly.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I would have looked at the fact of, can we do this and do it right? But I'm still thinking that, well, let's give it a shot. Maybe we can get a variance. I don't know. Maybe we can try to get it to 3 families because of Big Rapids, and I'm going back to this master plan that they're trying to get.
Well, then we put them
People
in the
in here.
areas that they're eligible to be in.
Yeah, or get a or rent it to a family.
Yeah, we need single-family rentals.
Yeah,
I don't know how many times I have people looking for
yeah,
for the professional person. We don't have much here
yeah.
because I own a rental too, and I have no trouble renting it, even though they're 1-bedroom apartments. But the professional people need something. The people that come to Ferris, that come to the hospital, that there is not much there for them. They don't want to live in a student complex.
Well, I think there would be, since it's for sale, I guess that would be something that would be, as a
You would
condition.
say this would
It
be a
has to
good
be-
single-family house.
Correct, I was saying, they would be responsible about the financial part of things.
Yeah.
Not Mr.
Again, I'm not
Not
with-
Mr. Monk at this point, but
Yeah.
because he's selling it, it's for sale,
Yeah.
it'd be responsible of the new owner to take that and turn it back to how it's supposed
Yeah.
to be,
I'm good with that.
correct?
I'm good with that.
Yeah,
I
right.
mean, that's what I'm understanding, I guess, if we did that.
I'm good with that. I think, yeah, if we would've gone a little further, we might have come up with a different solution, or if I was looking at it, I'd say, yeah, maybe I'll just rent it out to a single family. Try to get a good professional family in here. Maybe somebody has a business, or wants a business.
But then, someone having taxes and they live upstairs, I mean, it could be a small little,
It could be.
home business.
Yeah,
You
but
can put a
that's,
CPA down there, you can put
Right,
a
that's what I'm saying.
financial,
Right.
yeah, I'm
you
not,
can put a dentist. There's a lot of things that can go down there.
I'm good with that, because it is an RP. He's trying to get it to basically rezoning it, almost rezoning it to a R2.
Right, and I just
R3.
think it would be odd if that particular property is zoned that way and
Yeah,
everything
well,
else
that's-
around
That's
it.
not us to rezone.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what I'm talking about, then everything else still are,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
what
yeah.
everybody else coming, asking
Yeah.
for that then.
That's for the city to take care of, I'm good.
Okay.
I make a motion that, let me read it.
You find it?
I move that the use variance application of 117 South Warren Avenue to allow for 3 residential units to be denied because it does not meet standards 3.7, and for me, it's like
1, 3, and 4.
1, 3, and 4.
Second.
Take a roll call.
Nikki,
Yep.
Lemke,
Yes.
Johansson,
Yes.
Zuby,
Yes.
Walton.
Yes. Okay. Moving on. We got another property, one more.
By Mr. Monk.
Just a little quick. Also, Mr. Monk.
Would you like me to start, Chair?
Yeah.
Okay.
please.
The property is zoned C3, and the surrounding properties are also zoned 3C with some industrial and R3 adjoining as well. The industrial land is mainly owned by the city and is currently being used for depot park, while the R3 property is an apartment complex. The proposed variance would allow the property to be used for up to a 6 single-family residence. The property is currently vacant in use but has been previously used for commercial uses. There are no active code enforcement on the property. The C3 district does not allow for residential use on the main level of a commercial property. The purpose of the C3 district states that residential uses are not intended but are permitted in the C2 district, provided they are not on the main level or basement. The C3 district then goes on to allow for all uses permitted in the C1 and C3 district. So that's how you get C3 allowing it on the upper floor, is because it's allowed in C2, and C3 allows everything in C2. Make sure everyone makes that connection. The applicant thought that moving forward with the variance was the best option. And moving forward with the property, as there has been little movement with filling it with commercial uses. Staff did their analysis of the property.
That's the one I was asking you about.
Yeah, I didn't give a recommendation on this property. Typically, zoning or planning wise, you don't want residential on main floors.
It's only one level building.
It's only
correct?
one level building. It's not typically good practice, because if you think of like in a downtown or anywhere, you don't want people walking by residence windows, you want, and then the commercial upstairs, you want the commercial on the main floor and the residential upstairs. So you want your commercials or your main floor to be an active, vibrant place, is typically why they don't allow residential on the main floor.
You want me to bring it up on the thing?
Yeah, I was gonna say, that makes perfect sense, because if I remember right, that used to be the Secretary of State.
This is currently for sale also for $545,000.
I have
think
no
if you're in
idea
the
the
tab,
price,
I
I
think it's
don't
on the
get
tab.
involved in that portion.
Tab right there.
Yeah,
The third
so,
tab,
Joe, you're the realtor, correct?
that's
so
it.
there has been shifting because of the housing crisis going on, as they call it.
Thank you.
And allowing, some places are starting to allow residential in the main floor of commercial districts because there's a need for housing.
You're talking about in the general
In the general planning world,
world. Gotcha.
not in our ordinance, just in general in zoning shifts that you, like, I kinda see going on. That's one of the things you hear talked about a lot.
Those are business offices right now, correct?
I think it's empty.
It's
empty,
vacant,
but
right,
There used
but
to
there
be, I
were
think,
businesses
I think
there.
Hope House was there at one time, I think.
I'm not there's been multiple different.
Yeah, after the Secretary of State.
And there's
got rid of it.
residential,
Yeah, that's, okay. Before we move on to that,
May I see?
Okay, sure.
Do you have anything to say?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
No problem.
Joe McNally again, Woodward Avenue, Big Rapids. I do have this listed for sale, and the thought of Mr. Monk is that the layout and current use of the building is very challenging. Commercial's changed a lot. There is probably, I believe, there are 22 rooms in this building, and rooms can be moved, walls can be changed, layouts can be changed, of course. But when you look at a floor plan, and I think floor plans were submitted, looking at the floor plan, it would work out nicely, potentially, for you have multiple ingress and egress opportunities, you have plenty of parking, you have plenty of space. There is a need for housing, there are apartments nearby. There are a number of reasons to look at it and go, my goodness, this could solve some problems. Maybe Mike could either get in contact with a developer, partner up for development, or develop it himself. There's not specifically a plan right now. If this variance were to be approved, then the floor plan would probably evolve a little bit. There'd be some propositions put out there from a marketing standpoint, and we would market it to developers to come in and put single-family housing in. So that is the idea for this building. There are, like Michelle mentioned, a couple, I think there's some scattered, Michelle, residential around there, right? You have a couple single-family. And then I think kitty corner to the back, off across the trail, you have the apartment complex back there. So there's some housing around, but yeah, this is squarely on that that commercial corridor from a zoning standpoint. It's right there on the C3, although there is a lot of residential right there.
And they also have the third parcels included off the back of that, correct?
Correct. So there are a couple parcels here. You have the main building, and then to the right of the building, you can't see it in this image. I think if I scooch,
There's the
If you
garage.
do
You have the-
an
you-
overhead,
Yeah.
you can probably do it.
Yeah, there's that.
if only I could squeeze it,
Get
make
out
it.
of that and do
But I think the space
Could-
directly between those two buildings
The X
directly
right here?
behind it is,
Oh, yeah, yeah, and then we'll
yeah.
go over here. Oh, yeah, so. Okay.
Other way,
Other way? Or right here, right?
yeah.
Okay. There we go. So if we zoom this, there's an outlot back here,
Yeah.
and this outlot he owns as well. And so, there are multiple ways ingress, egress. You have the outlot back here. I believe the variance is specifically for this parcel and this address, though.
Correct, because that's where the use would change.
Correct. This is where the use would change. Not sure that other parcel is gonna be tied to this building in itself, or is
As
relevant to this,
Okay.
yeah.
Because for sale, it's including all of that. It's
Correct. Yes.
The
So-
address is showing, it says the third parcel, so it's still tagged to that address.
So the other parcels don't have addresses assigned, I don't believe, so that's why you have one address.
So all those houses, they're unoccupied then?
No, they're all-
Or where are we talking?
These are all apartments right here.
I'm sorry, over there.
Yes, this is kitty corner to the back of the
I was
property.
going further down,
Oh, gotcha, no,
not
these,
that way, the other way.
oh, the other way. So I believe these are all occupied homes,
Okay,
correct?
they're occupied homes, but
Yeah.
that's all C3.
It's also.
It is all C3, yep.
Let me say,
There's
they
a
were.
lot of legal non-conformity.
Let me tell you, I was gonna hear, I was gonna ask that
Yeah.
question.
You adopted the
Yeah.
plan and it's like, everything
A
changes.
lot of legal non-conformity.
Sure.
So you said that the green space would go with this building?
Yes, his intention is to sell the whole thing, all together.
Because otherwise
If for
there's no
some
green
reason,
space.
if a parcel weren't gonna suit the purpose of the purchase, if for some reason the zoning variance let's say the variance would pass and everything would change, maybe that changes. But whatever the goal is, he'd like to sell everything as it is now. If it changes, maybe he keeps a piece, maybe he sells them separately, tries to leverage, so, that's up to Mr. Monk.
Okay, because my concern was if it's a good idea to put living quarters in there.
Makes
But
sense.
the front is all paved. There's no
Correct.
place to go put your patio chair out.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you got children,
I was
they've
gonna
got
think
no
that's
place to
children,
play
yeah.
except for a busy road right out front.
Right.
And that is a busy road.
But that could be part of the.
If I were a
remodel.
developer, I would say, Mr. Monk, I want the whole thing.
Yeah, I
For
would
that-
too.
for that reason.
'Cause You might have to cross the alley to get to it,
Mm-hmm.
because not too many people go down the alley. But I just,
You can put a caution sign.
you need a-
But like, yeah. Well, I mean, the front, you could get rid of the parking lot and do
But they have to
something
park
else.
there.
Well, that's true, I get
And
that.
if you saw the previous image, there's already some grass growing there in that parking lot, so
is
we've
there
got a head
enough
start.
Parking for, if this was approved, is there enough parking for the?
It depends on how many bedrooms, cause our ordinance specifies number of parking spaces by bedrooms, not by units.
Right, by bedrooms, yes.
So
No.
I can't answer that question until we would know how many bedrooms there are. But we also wouldn't approve, we would see as a building plan before we would
That's
approve
right, go with
zoning.
Planning commission.
So we would, that would be something that would be analyzed there and we'd have to
I
make sure
could
it
see this
works.
better than the other property. I really could,
This could actually be a benefit to the area,
especially on
possibly
the east side.
a benefit. Cause they're trying to build up the east side of town, it's always been our other side of the tracks area.
And
It's
you
a
got
bad
house,
route.
you got house all under C3, which again was the non-conforming.
Legal non-conforming. Good
Get
job.
that right. That's just what's existing, right?
That's the existing floor plan.
Because I think I remember walking in there one time. And,
Yes.
wow, there's a lot of different.
It's
lights up
it's
there.
quite a maze. Yeah,
It's quite amazing.
yeah.
That is true.
He wants to put 6 units in there?
Yeah, so what was?
I believe the
original-
verbiage is up to 6. Yes.
Yeah, it says, what's the part where you wrote a hammer shop, says was originally 1,200 square feet units, so there's 4 units before, like, what does that mean to me?
To me, that's when they had it divided up for commercial uses, and each commercial use was 1,200 square feet, and there was four separate commercial uses. That's how I read that.
And this is different than the 12,000 plus 3,000 plus 3,000 for this type of property, right? I mean,
We
Maybe-
don't, so in the C3 district, there, because I don't think it talks about square footage required, yeah, there's no square footage requirements for housing. So we do have the square footage based on the number of bedrooms that he would have to meet when it comes
Okay.
through, if it were approved, but there's nothing like square footage of property in C3
Right.
equals this amount of.
right. And I think he was asking for 6, I think.
And that would be within of your requirements, 6 is okay.
We don't regulate it in C3 because housing is usually upstairs.
Yeah,
Okay.
but, okay.
And it's written.
One more note, the building's roughly 6,000 square feet, I think just under, I think it's about 58. So the idea was we create 900 to 1,000 square foot units.
But that's more than next, whether we approve, if we approve it,
Sure,
goes to the planning
sure.
commission.
Planning
You gotta
commission,
do all that
layouts,
other stuff.
bedrooms, yep.
Planning commission would do
Remember
site
where we are here.
plan.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have to wear multiple hats. so
That's
we
right.
can't-
Thank you. All right, appreciate it. Anybody in favor of this?
I'll throw my hat in the ring as calling in favor. Like, your primary objection for ground floor housing in C3 is that it's gonna be in a downtown area. Well, it's not really a downtown area, it's more, and it's set back from the road. And there's no real floor to ceiling windows like in a downtown area there. So the objection to having housing in a C3 on the ground floor for this particular single-level commercial building really doesn't have any merit. Like, I could see putting one-bedroom apartments in there, or or even a smaller 2, because 1,000 square feet's pretty small. But it fits with the current use of the neighboring properties. And it might not be a place where you'd wanna have little children because of the busy road. But as you guys have all pointed out, you guys are trying to drive those families to other parts of town.
Yeah.
And there's lots of places to rent in this town that have yards, so if you had a young family, that would go.
Maple Street has
All right.
tons of
Well, I didn't make you get up there, but your name and where you live.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, my name's Dave Casey. I live in Newaygo. I own or I'm a partner in a number of properties in Big Rapids.
Okay. Anybody else in favor? Anybody else, hearing none of that, anybody else opposed? Hearing none. We will go into fact finding. Little different from what I can see from the South Stewart. Especially for this side. I lived on this side for about 4 years in Coburn Apartments. And that's when we even had a market here, down the road we had a fish market, all that's gone. I think the pawn shop may still be there, I'm not sure. Those halls, yeah, I used to go there.
Me too.
Anyway, but there is, and if we can get, you know, people in here, and whether it's professionals or students, anybody that can rent, I guess. I think we need it on that side because it has been kind of depressed, in my mind.
Yeah, I like revitalization of that neighborhood.
And I can see that better than the other property. And I'm trying to compare the two, but it just kind of goes without. So, if we get right into the analysis, the property has sat vacant for a number of years, which I believe it has. While the property could still be used for commercial uses, it is currently not being sought. It's not being sought to be used for commercial purposes, is that the idea?
Not to date.
Not to date.
What are they, they're saying, what are they trying to sell it as? They're not,
The current zoning is what we can,
oh.
Got you.
is what we're allowed to try to sell.
That's my interpretation, like, it sat for a while,
Gotcha.
nobody's looking for it.
Gotcha, I understand. The property could still be used commercially, although the east side has struggled with attracting commercial uses, and that is true. There has been some recent resurgence in the area that will hopefully continue, but you gotta get the families before you get the commercial use, in my mind. I think, I can live with number one. Anybody else?
It's just, yeah, I'm agreeing with what you're saying about how do we get by where the property can still be used as commercially? It's just, how do we get by that requirement? Because it can be, but I like the idea.
Well, I mean, it appears the current ordinance is dissuading people from using it, right? Like, so as a property owner, right, the C3 zoning and the ordinance is like, go with that zoning, or not making that an attractive property, right? So I would be arguing that is unreasonably preventing the property owner from using it, right? Because like they're really trying, or they tried to. It's sitting vacant. Like there's something unique about this space.
How many years have they,
Right.
is it sat vacant?
It's been vacant, I believe it's going on 9 years.
So it's been for sale for 9 years?
It's been for sale for, I think, at least 9 years, because I've had it for a very short period of time, but before that, 2 or 3 people have had it, and I can't speak to that. I know that he's been trying to get rid of it. I can't say it's been actively for sale. I know that the 2 people I've shown it to walked in and went,
No.
there's children, there's families with kids everywhere around. What, you know, this doesn't, it didn't make sense for the 2 businesses that looked at it. It seems to be a recurring theme.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I think just where it's location, we have the apartments over there and you have the other houses over there, and then just the size of that location. Makes sense, it could be attractive if it's fixed up for families. And, how do we get around it?
Yeah.
I think it's doable for 6.
I will tell you that zoning, ZBA decisions do not set precedent.
That's what I was gonna say, just because we do it here So then we do it anyplace else.
Because every property is considered a unique property when looked at by the CBA. So it's very hard court-wise for them for that to be used as precedent.
That's good.
Let's go on to number two, think about number one, or, no, is what you were talking about, number two?
I hadn't gotten to that one yet.
No, we haven't. How do we get around the C3? That was your question. Well, I think it's surrounded by family housing and other housing, commercial across the street. Boy, that could attract families if there's something that comes up across the street, have a business to go across the street. I don't know if they're all full or they're empty.
You wouldn't wanna try it on foot.
Maybe not, but still,
It'd be a pancake.
yeah.
Try it at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, but I don't know, I could see that happening. I think we could get around it, that it's just attractive for family housing.
I only need.
I
Well,
guess,
it's a good use of the building
Small
because
office
it's
and a half bath.
yeah,
No sense in it
that's the way I
sitting
would
there
look
and
at it,
just sitting there.
empty, right, yeah.
yeah.
Might as well put something in there that's usable.
Let's move on to number two. The variance would be do substantial justice to the applicant and possibly other property owners in the district unless a relaxation of the regulation that requested would not provide substantial relief to the property owner. So there is already a mixture of structures, we just saw that, mixture of structures used for residential, multifamily, commercial, and park space surrounding the property. The conversion will provide more options for the owner and more housing for the community. Against, the structure already is built and established for commercial use. Changing to residential could be costly and decrease commercial use along a major thoroughfare within the community. Could be costly, we're not worried about finances.
Right.
No,
And I wouldn't call that set up for commercial use.
I would not call that, no, we're just looking at.
That has to go no matter what they do with it.
I would think so,
I mean, that looks like,
yeah. And can you see in the back, maybe a park?
yeah. For the residents of that building, yeah, absolutely.
I could see a park.
There is a park there.
I could
We
see,
could maybe put covered parking for them instead and change the code.
That's the part
well, they could even do covered parking if they really wanted to, really make it attractive. They did that downtown.
being worked on right now.
It'll be done in a month.
It'll be done in a month, right? The
I mean,
park.
that would be something that they could.
That's when they're
attract
supposed to be
other
done.
than, like, you know,
Yeah.
spots or something.
I can get by number two pretty easily.
yeah.
Number three, the plight of the property owner is due to the unique circumstance of the property and not a general condition of the neighborhood. Support of the property is unique in that many of the uses next to it are residential, while across the road is mostly commercial. Again, we see that. Against this, the property is unique in that most of the uses on the same side of the road is residential, but allowing more residential is not the goal of the master plan without a commercial component, but it kinda, it's there. I know all that whole section, the whole area is commercial, I get that.
I think a good thing to point out in this, for number three, is that both for and against indicate how unique this property is, right? And so if
Yeah.
we're trying to like, does this meet this criteria? Like, this property is unique. To me, that means, yep, it meets this criteria.
Yeah.
I can deal with that.
Right, I agree.
It's unique in a certain way.
Unique, yes.
Okay? Okay? Number four. The alleged practical difficulty has not been created by any person presently having an interest in the property. Support of the change in the economy and home office space has changed the need for office space within the community. Right? The change in the economy and home office space has changed the need for office space within the community. The applicant or family has owned the property since the late 1990s and has been able to use it commercially since then. It is hard to determine if the need has been created by not changing with the culture or a lack of need of commercial space. Again, so to me, they're up in the air. We don't know. We don't know. But there's always a changing in the economy and how things work out. If we get people to come in, we might have to battle, I think, if that can happen. I can get by four as well.
Same.
Yeah, great.
Me too.
Alright, it sounds like we can get by the C3 as well. The uniqueness of the property. So. Well, we have all this, we have, again, 3 ways of approval. Or, approval with conditions. And I can't think of any conditions at this point. They're probably gonna have to come back at some point, I would imagine.
Well, they'll.
After
yeah,
they go through the
they'll
planning
have-
commission.
Yeah, they'll have to go to the planning commission to get,
All of that stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any way we can force them to sell the green space with it.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Or we can deny. So I don't think we have any conditions we can put on it, so I got either denial or approval. Anybody making a motion? I will make the motion.
Somebody,
I move, what?
someone needs to read it.
Oh, that's true.
Go ahead and read it.
What?
Go ahead.
I move, this is an approval, I move that the use variance application for 203 South Third Avenue with the property number there, to allow for up to 6 family residential units to be approved because it meets the standards set in section 13.7 of the zoning ordinance.
I
Need
second.
a roll call,
Five,
you
two.
second. Yeah, that's right. Need a roll call.
Lipnicki,
Yes.
Lemke,
Yes.
Johansson,
Yeah.
Zuby,
Yes.
Walton.
Yes.
I do have a quick statement for unscheduled business that won't take long.
Okay.
We passed our master plan in January-ish, February, maybe by the time we got it actually passed, but, and we hired the same consultants that did our master plan to start working on the process of writing our zoning ordinance. So the city is starting to embark on that. Right now, the consultant is doing an audit of our ordinance to compare it to our master plan and say what things, when comparing to master plan, need to be changed to meet our master plan request, and then also to compare like what things, as you change ordinances, you sometimes write things in one section and it doesn't make sense in another section, so they're doing that comparison as well to make sure that everything's jiving correctly, so we'll probably have that back around the end of May, early June, and then we have a committee that we're working with to go through that audit and also discuss how that new zoning ordinance is gonna be developed. And that will go to, there'll be some public involvement in review of it and in the writing of it and all of that process. Then eventually, probably a year-ish from now, it will go through planning commission and zoning, or city commission for adoption. Just so you're all aware that it's
So
going
that
on.
could change maybe. That could change. You never know, hopefully we'll take input.
That's all I have for
Anything else?
unfinished business.
Are you the vice chairman by chance?
I have no idea.
We need to put that
You
on.
will have elections at your next meeting,
That's what
whenever
you
that
said,
be,
the next
because
election.
usually you do them in May.
Okay.
I don't know if
Keep
you'll
us
have,
posted.
I haven't had anything through, so.
We did it late last time, didn't we? A year ago, we kinda got, cause we've been meeting so sporadically
Yeah,
that it's been hard to have elections
I think-
when we need it.
I don't know when the last time you did it, but
I just-
it's
I
been,
saw it on some.
it's been a while, so we'll do them all in May again anyways.
Okay, all right, we're adjourned.
Thank you.
I need that real estate, like I need a hole in that. Oh. I know you don't, you're holding that hat.
You know,
But thank you for selling those two.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I